All right. I'm gonna draw like this. This thing. Not high enough, I think so. All right. Welcome. I'm gonna draw my life. You may be saying to yourself, who is Tyler? Why should I care about him? And frankly, you should not. Because, I don't know, I'm just a person. But if you would like to know, I'm going to give you a little insight. So, first off, let's start. I was born in Indiana. Indiana looks like this. Ooh, gotta remember Lake Michigan, Squiggles, Ohio River. I was born right here, just south of Indianapolis in Greenwood, Indiana, in 1991. When I was a kid, I played soccer ball. Ooh, yeah. I played some football. I was the kicker because I played a lot of soccer. And I also played basketball because, of course, I'm in Indiana. How could I not play basketball? Larry Bird, Reggie Miller, my faves. My dad was usually my coach for most of these sports, so that was a lot of fun. Oh, and I played some billiards when I was a kid, you know. Pool, as one might say. My favorite was 9-ball. 9-ball's a lot more fun than standard pool, in my opinion. Let's see, I have a dad and a mom, and I also have a sister named Courtney, who was born about 3 years after me. And then in 2007, my family adopted Yuri and Tatiana from Ukraine, and they joined us. So that was great. It was cool to have more people, and yeah. My grandparents live in southern Indiana, down here. Some of my grandparents. My other grandparents. My dad is from Fort Wayne, which is up here. My mom is from just south of Salem, like Pekin, Indiana. And so down here, pretty much, they cut down all the trees in Indiana in the 1800s. So pretty much underneath this line are really where the cool stuff happens in terms of trees and everything. And that's really where I liked to go when I was a kid. I remember hiking and running around Brown County, specifically around Bloomington, where Indiana University is. And I remember my mom would always let me go far enough down the trail until she couldn't see me anymore, kind of like one might do with their dog. But yeah, I had great memories of doing that. And then at 8, I went to cross-country camp. Let's see, running, person, good form, oh yeah, fast. And, you know, that was kind of one of the first times that I realized that people ran around in the woods because, like I said, I lived above this line and it was very flat. It's called the Crossroads of America. And that's because, you know, there's a highway running this way, there's a highway running this way, there's a circle around Indianapolis that's a highway. So there's highways galore, so not a whole lot of trees. And I realized that people ran around on the trees, and that was really cool to me because it was kind of a way that I could experience, you know, a whole different world. You know, you go into the trees and you kind of forget where you are, and it kind of seems like a whole different place. That was really cool to me. And in doing that, you know, one of my other favorite parts of that were, of course, the after snacks. You know, your Doritos, your Cheetos, your chocolate chip cookies, nourishment after the run. And so I think, you know, I've never had a problem eating, and I think that really helps with ultra marathons. And in doing that camp, you know, there were other people who were actually training for things, training for runs. My parents had done something called the mini marathon, which takes place in Indianapolis and actually goes around. This is the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which is a 2.5-mile track that goes around called the Brickyard, one of the most famous tracks in all of the world. And they, as part of this half marathon, you get to run around this track. And I thought that was really cool. So when I was 12, I actually trained for and ran the mini marathon. At the start-finish line, there are bricks, because the whole track used to be made out of bricks. It's called the Brickyard. And what you do is people get down on their knees and kiss the bricks. So that was really cool to do. I actually ran the race a few more times after that, and would like to do it again someday. I haven't done it in about 15 years, but I will be back at some point. When I was a kid, music, ooh, eighth notes, was a big part of my life. I liked a lot of 60s, 70s rock, the Beatles, Elton John, Queen, even 80s Prince, and then later got into more indie music and hip hop. But when I was a kid, it was mostly that. And in middle school, I played let's see if I can, the trumpet, and all kinds of swirly stuff under here. Ooh. So that's kind of a trumpet. That's a bad trumpet. But I really like playing the trumpet. I really enjoyed the process of learning to play and practicing during class only. I would not practice at home, of course, because I was like 12 and did not really have the attention span to do things outside of school when I was forced to. But I did like playing with the whole band, and it reminded me a lot of sports, where everyone comes together and you lift each other up, and it creates something where you're just playing your one part, but it's really cool. And that led to, I did choir as well. I sang a lot, and I was actually in the show choir, which let's see, let's draw a ball gown, and let's see. Their hair was always up when I was a kid. I don't know, no one ever in like a big bun thing, dancing. And then we always wore, a suit with a tie, and dance. And again, that was fun for me because it was kind of a great form of exercise. And again, gave me an opportunity to be a part of something bigger than just me, and train and practice and get better and see how we could improve. And we were pretty good at the show choir, I will say. It was a lot of fun. I did it for all 4 years of high school. It's the only thing that I earned my letter in, and I never got the jacket, but I was varsity, no big deal. Oh, no head on this guy. That's me. We'll do a top hat. Ooh, yeah. And then, after high school, I went to college at Ball State University. Let's draw a bird. This is, of course, I think it's got like more of like a peak, but there you go. You see it. It's a cardinal. Chirp, chirp. And at Ball State University is where I actually met my partner Molly at a 10-10-10 party. 10, 10, 10. And that's October 10th of 2010. That is how old I am. I saw her from across the room. And then a few days later, through mutual friends, we were at a Jersey Shore ice cream sandwich party, which is just some Belgian waffles. It's like two Belgian waffles stacked with some ice cream in the middle. So that's what a Jersey Shore ice cream sandwich is. 2 soft Belgian waffles with cold ice cream, hot waffles. Ooh, so good. We both actually went back for seconds after our firsts. Like I said, no problem with eating here. And yeah, it's been, we've been together ever since. We even during college got on the we were on, well, the Super Bowl came to Indianapolis, and the producers of a show called Cougar Town said if you get a sign on the show, Cougar Town is back, you could win a spot as an extra on the show. And so we were like, of course we want to do that. We want to be on Cougar Town. And we did. And we got to go out to LA and sit in the background, and I got to drink my first O'Doul's, which is a non-alcoholic beer. On the set in the bar of Cougar Town, I was not 21 at the time, I don't think. So it was very fun. I was way out of my element. I did not know what I was doing yet. Fast forward a few years, we moved to, let's see if I can approximate it. It's kind of shaped like this. I don't know, it goes out like that. I didn't even do, this is terrible. I moved to Brooklyn, this is Brooklyn. I moved right here, which is Gowanus in Brooklyn. Manhattan over here, of course. Queens up here. The Statue of Liberty on Ellis Island, right here-ish. We'll do, holding up the thing, a person with the crown. Moved to New York City, Brooklyn to be exact, and eventually got into selling beer in Brooklyn. And this was, that's a frosty mug right there. Sold beer in Brooklyn for a little while at the height of the craft beer boom in like 2015, 2016. That was a lot of fun. I then went on and worked at what's called the Morgan Library, and we had a few Gutenberg Bibles, which was really cool. This was J.P. Morgan's private library that he built when he lived in New York City. They converted his house into a museum, so that was a lot of fun. I also worked at a little place, I don't know, that's like the Amazon logo, Amazon Live. It was a daily production where we kind of sold things, and I was a production assistant. But that was a lot of fun, honestly. Like one of the most fun jobs I've ever had. And yeah, career-wise, that's kind of what I did hanging out in New York. Now, remember, I was selling beer. So this is back in 2016. I weighed a lot, and I actually ended up losing 75 pounds. So, lost it. Don't know where it went. And the whole reason that I lost it was because I stopped drinking beer. And that eventually kind of led me back into what I had loved doing as a kid, which was sports and running. And every year where I lived in Brooklyn, I forgot Staten Island over here. So the New York City Marathon starts in Staten Island, goes across the Verrazano Narrows Bridge, goes up 4th Avenue in Brooklyn, across into Queens, and then you go across into Manhattan, up to the Bronx, and then back down to Central Park, and finish in there. And every year, like I said, the race would go right by my house. And in 2017, I remember standing there, like I said, after I'd lost the weight, and I was like, ooh, I want to run the New York City Marathon. Who doesn't want to run the New York City Marathon? And so I looked into how to do it and realized that it was a very costly thing to do. And so, but they had this program called 9+1, and that means if I ran 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 New York Roadrunner races, who are the organization that puts the race on, and volunteered at one race, then I was able to qualify for the New York City Marathon. So in 2018, I completed the 9+1. I ran a few times in Central Park. I ran the Brooklyn half marathon, which Prospect Park is there-ish. and you kind of do some loops around Prospect Park, and then you go all the way to Coney Island, where, you know, you've seen the big Ferris wheel, you've seen, you know, the hot dogs. Let's see if I can draw a hot dog. This is fun. What is that? That's a hot dog. You've seen the hot dogs. So run all the way there. I did the Staten Island half over on Staten Island. I did the Bronx 10 mile, which leaves from Yankee Stadium. That was really cool. And I did the Queens 10K, which runs around Flushing Meadows. And this was really cool. Good tour of New York City. Highly recommend. But I actually qualified for the 2019 New York City Marathon before the 2018 New York City Marathon. So that meant I had a whole year. What was I going to do? I was thinking, so I decided that I wanted to go and run, I don't know, we're just doing a shoe here to show running, the Charlottesville Marathon in Virginia by the UVA campus. And that was going to be my first 26.2, which was very exciting. I didn't really know a whole lot. I didn't really follow that good of a training plan. I just kind of winged it. I based it, you know, I had a lot of fitness built up from 2018, and I just kind of went for it. And then about a month after that, I decided to run. This is going to be a bear. Let's see if I can, I guess. What is a bear's nose? I guess it's got like that nose. A bear. The North Face Endurance Challenge 50 mile at Bear Mountain. It's a mountain, but it doesn't really look like that. The mountains in New York are kind of small, but Bear Mountain, North Face Endurance Challenge 50 mile. Didn't really know what I was getting myself into, did not prepare in the correct way, and this was ultimately not the best idea to run this 1 month after my first marathon. But I did, and I made it through. And then eventually I got to run the New York City Marathon, which was the whole goal in November, the Big Apple, of course, in November of 2019, which was very cool. Really enjoyed doing that, and got a whole tour of the city like I already took you through. And then shortly thereafter, COVID hit. And leading up to that, I had been planning in 2020 to hike the, let's see if I can do it. So we got California, we got Oregon, and we got Washington. I was going to hike the Pacific, it kind of goes there, whatever. The Pacific Crest Trail in 2020. However, due to COVID, that was put on hold. And instead, we moved to Portland, right over here, to Clackamas specifically, and hung out there for a while. During this time, I actually, had a pretty bad sciatic problem. And during that time, I wasn't really able to run consistently, but I still wanted to practice that consistency and train on something. So I actually taught myself how to play guitar, which was great. Going back to, music, love of music, love performing. And so that gave me something to stay consistent, stay motivated, and work on while I was injured. And eventually, my back got a little better. I started hiking a little more. There was a mountain next to my house called Mount Tabor, which was one of the, it's called the Boring volcanoes. There's a chain of volcanoes around Boring, Oregon that are named the Boring volcanoes, and you can kind of see those. And that was great training grounds. I would do that almost every day, get out early in the morning and go hike. And again, just building up that consistency was really good for me. I had a lot of fun. And that led to my actual, finally, at long last, after years of planning, hike on the, trying to draw the little logo thing, the Pacific Crest Trail. It's like a fir tree, I think. Trying to do this from memory. And I finally started the PCT. This was in May of 2021. And it's a pretty late start. It was one of the later starts, but I wanted to get going. And while I did that, I met a couple of my good friends who I actually met Krista, whose trail name is Stardust, on day one. We had the same start date. We met each other at Lake Morena. I'll draw a lake. We were sitting under a tree and eating snacks at the end of the day. It was very hot, but we were just hanging out. And then like 2 weeks later, we're going back to a mountain, but this is an actual mountain, so there's a whole range going on now. But Mount Baden-Powell had some fires going on, and so you couldn't go up and over on the trail like you normally could. So that meant road walk. And I happened to meet some guy who his trail name was some guy, his real name Eric. But we bumped into each other on the day that we were both going to do the road walk, and we were like, hey, let's just walk on the road for 18 miles together. How bad could it be? And we're still friends to this day. And so fast forward a little bit, me, some guy, and Stardust hiked together for quite a while in the same kind of area until I got a stress fracture. That's a fracture in my bone, in my tibia. Although, there's another bone. This is my leg and the foot. So my tibia got a little stress fracture in it. So it was not good. I had to take a lot of time off, and that made me leave the trail. Unfortunately, I made it to Bernie, California, which is like here-ish. So didn't even make it through one state, but this was 1,500 miles. And I had to get off trail, but it led to, later, Krista, Eric, and I doing some ultra marathons together, which was a lot of fun. We did Badger Mountain Challenge. They completed it. I, once again, DNF'd because of stomach issues, mental issues. Miles are in the mind. Remember that, kids. The brain are where miles are. That's a brain. I don't know, squiggly. Yeah, you get it. But I just wasn't quite locked in enough. Later Molly and I moved from Clackamas. We bought a house in Lyle, Washington, which is over here in the Columbia River Gorge. And we had always come out to the Columbia River Gorge to hike while we lived in Clackamas during the winter because it stays relatively dry and not as cold. So we knew it was beautiful out here. And we bought it was a former cannabis farm. So we bought basically a barn that I'm standing in now, which we're still reconstructing. But with the barn came 2 cats. Ooh, yeah. Who we renamed Klickitat for the place we were moving to, which was Klickitat County, and Clackamas, which was the county we lived in. And both of these are indigenous tribes from the area, but we, really just like the names. And then later, Eric invited me to Arizona, to Phoenix. Let's see if we can draw Arizona. It's kind of like that. It's a very square state. But Phoenix where Across the Years happens. And they have a race that is the last person standing. And you basically just do loops until there's only one person left. And I did it the first year. I wasn't really trained up enough. But the next year I came back with a lot more strategies on how to go far and how to do well. And one of them was to bring pictures, printed off pictures of my cats, Clickatat and Clackamus. And every once in a while I would declare, it's cat lap time. Cat lap. And on that lap, I would give myself a mental boost by just staring at a picture of the cats between laps. And that kept me going until I could go no more. And I didn't quite make it to the end, but I had a great time. And it kind of sparked an idea in my head to host my own ultramarathon. You know, who doesn't want to do that? On my property. And so that kind of led me to start building some trails around here, which I'm sure I will show you. And that was kind of the impetus to the idea for Cat Lap. And so, yeah, I mean, that's where we are now. We're still building the house. I'll show you more about that in other videos. And yeah, consistency, music, trails, friends, you know, there's commonalities in everything that I've enjoyed in my life. And yeah, keep it going. But that's it so far. I wanted to, a YouTube, you know, classic video, Draw My Life, give you a little insight on who I am. So there you go. That's it. That's everything right there. I'll see you tomorrow.